Hey everyone, in this video we're going to be taking apart a 6-liter Powerstroke, a 5R110W transmission, and an NV273F transfer case, all from a 2004 Ford F350. If you're looking for more teardown content, go ahead and check out our channel. Enjoy the video.
Just gonna get started with pulling off as much of this harness as I can. So there's a main engine harness, and then there's an injector harness. All the injectors have these little clips on them. We have to pull them out before we can pull the harness off. Turbo is already off this motor. And we'll just come in and unplug all our injectors. And this is right where your fuel injection control module, your FICM, would have sat. Pull our injector harness off. It's the injection pressure regulator right here. Commands different pressures out of your pump for different throttle responses. Might as well get our tensioner off the front here. Now, but if we pull our fuel lines, we can make that really easy for us. Let's leave it out there. That's kind of funny. There's our engine harness off. There we go. Well, that wasn't even bolted up. Interesting. Let's get the turbo pedestal out of the way, why not? And gently just pry that out of there. There we go. A darn glow plug harness. There is a tool for this. Hey, there's our oil reservoir. We should probably drain that. There we go. Of course, the screen's broken. That's a standard 6-liter practice. In fact, that could have been the reason this motor didn't run. Broken screen, let in some debris, clogged up the IPR. Well, I guess we can pull off our H-pop. Pull our IPR out. There's another screen, and we can see that it's also just filthy. So what I think is interesting is this has the old style H-pop, but it's got the ICP, the injection control pressure sensor, up here. So I don't know what to think of it. 2004 must have been a crossover year. There we go. Yeah, there's our old style round type H-pump. And off comes our H-pop. Ooh. Ooh. That oil manifold is just rotten. So I wouldn't be surprised if this thing had a Huey leak somewhere, because the manifolds are screwed. How this works is the pump that was here, and I should have explained this earlier, the pump that was here is driven off our cam gear, and it pumps oil from this pickup, which comes over to our reserve, where our oil valley is. It sucks oil from that, pressurizes it, pushes it through this tube, which flows out and up into these manifolds. And then under each of these, 1, 2, 3, 4, are the injectors. So it's pressurized oil in this system anytime the engine is running. Matter of fact, it won't run without it. That's how the injectors are fired. I'm gonna put our towel down again. So oil should come out of these. And I'm not applying much force here. Yikes. Yeah, there's our oil. And there's the rest of our standpipe. So that's what feeds oil up into this manifold from this tube here. So shine light down in there. See if I can't see it. Anyway, maybe you can kind of see it down in there. But yeah. And here's our injectors where the nipples here went into them. So now we'll get the harnesses out of the rocker boxes. And the T40 will get in here and we'll undo our injector hold downs. And then all injectors will be out. Let's get a safe spot set up for them to go. Because you don't want to touch the injector body with your ratchet or anything, because you run the risk of damaging it. Damaging the spool valve on the top. It's been forever since I worked on one of these, but it's funny how it's all coming back to me. Missed my truck, but don't miss it enough to want it back. If you own a 6 liter, you know what I mean. I've gone ahead and loosened up all 4 injector hold downs on this side. So we're going to come in here to the injector harness clip and push the tabs in. There we go. And after we get this last one here, should be able to pull our injectors out one by one. Making sure to be very careful with them. Now on the last one, I'll be sure to show you a little up closer look. So fuel is delivered to the injectors via a port right here. That's the opposite end of this fuel line, and it's fed throughout the head to all the injectors, and it's sealed. Fuel is let in through these ports here. They're indexed 120 degrees apart from each other, and there's a seal on either side here, these O-rings, and that's what seals diesel fluid from coming up into the rocker box area, and this one stops it from going down into the cylinder. It'll leak down and it'll actually hydrolock that cylinder, and I've actually had that happen to me on my truck. I ripped the seal here when I was putting it back in. Next thing, we're going to pull these rusty rockers off. Man, these things are rusty. Pull our rockers out now. We'll pull our rockers out. Let's get our push rods out of here. Oh, these are bent. So far, I should say. That one's nice and rusty. Look at that. Okay, we should now be able to pull off our rocker box. Oh, we'll get the bridges off our valves. So we can pull our exhaust manifold off. Look at that. Pull our rocker box cover off. Oh, sorry, our rocker box off. So let's see what happens here. Oh, comes off with it nicely. Oh, there's a good look at the cylinder head. Let's use our 10 mil. Pull out our glow plugs. I'm just taking one final look around because I believe we're at the point where we can pull this cylinder head off. There we go. Pluck it off now. There's a good look at the branch tube. It comes down and this is where it comes up to the standpipe. Now I say let's just get this motor mount off and these lifters out, and we're finished on this side pretty much. 4 13 mils. Since these engines had different applications, they had different motor mounts. This bracket off of here. This one injector's been replaced. That's kind of silly. Get our bridges off. Yeah, our final 10. Oh, push rods. How could I have almost forgotten our push rods? Got a stock push rod. Stuck or is it bent? Darn, we're gonna have to get on that with some vice grips. Oh ho ho ho! Just as I suspected. Wow! That's bent. There's why she was a non-runner. Wow. That's for super diesel. Wow. We're gonna get started pulling our rear cover off. So we've got some 10 mils back here. There we go. There we go. There we go. There's our... We should probably do the same with our water pump. Usually when an oil pump goes, it's pretty catastrophic and you'll see it. This looks pretty good. No wear marks. Let's get our water pump. It's pretty rusty in there. So as soon as we pull this cover, we're gonna get coolant everywhere. Oh, did the oil pan bolts go through it? Oh, I'm a silly guy. Got oil pan bolts that go through it. I did get that machined crankshaft adapter out. I just got my puller on it, and with a few blasts of the impact, that was all it took. Now I'm in here on our camshaft retainer. It's like we've got one here. We've got one bolt on the other side. We should be able to spin this. Just going to carefully, emphasis on carefully. Pull out our camshaft. Yeah, it comes out the back on this motor, but that should be the only other thing that does. So we should now have the green light to bolt our engines down to it. So I'll pause here and I'll get that set up and get my area cleaned up, and we'll come back for the rest of the disassembly. Okay, I got her flipped upside down. Now we're gonna pull the pan off, and before I do, now you can see why there was an oil drain pan underneath of it, because it's been leaking for a while. Pans seem to like to rot out, but I got my 8mm on my gun here. No! Oh, I dropped one in the mucky water. Okay, let's pull our pan off. Here's our crankcase. Looks like we keep going with the 8mm for now. Back to it. So now we got our bed plate. And that's basically what acts as our mains for our crank. Oh, right on, Curtis. My bottom two bolts on the stand go into the bed plate. That's okay. That's my own fault. Okay, so we fixed that problem. Now we're back where we left off. All our bed pan bolts are out. We're gonna pull the bed pan off now, or at least make an attempt. Have I missed something? There we go. And out comes our crank. Light taps. Gentle light taps. We do have oil squirters. Let's get our oil squirters out. With all the oil squirters out, we are finished tearing this engine apart. Gotta say, it's been quite a while since I worked on one of these. I'm happy as much came back to me as it did. Obviously, I missed a few bolts here and there and had to go back and make sure I got them all out. But we have our strip block here on the stand, looking like a strip 6-liter, that's for sure. We've got our pile of parts in behind it. Hello everyone. On the bench today we have a Ford 5R110 out of a 2004 6-liter Powerstroke. I don't believe there's anything wrong with this unit, but we're going to pull it apart and see what's inside. I've already loosened off our speed sensors. That's just an 8mm bolt. I've also gone ahead and started taking the nasty bolts out of the extension housing. We'll get our 13mm impacts. That's all those. Oh crap, I didn't expect this to come off so nicely. Usually everything's stuck on these. There's our extension housing and output shaft. Now we got a little bit cleaner of a workspace. So now we're going to flip it over. I'm going to pull our pan off. Oh, look what I just found. Remanufactured. Not that that really changes anything. Hey. Whoa. What's this little guy doing on the ground? You're supposed to be up here, sir. That's interesting. So I get our filter out. Then I guess we'll get started on our solenoid body, getting it out of here. Unplug our out comes our pump. And sure enough, they look remanufactured. Here's our forward planetary. And the ring gear for that. And the center support's there. Because we've taken both our center support bolts out, we should be able to just pull or pry this out. Center support's out. Sorry, intermediate clutch pack. And here's our forward clutch drum, planetary, and sun shell. And then just the last snap ring holding in our rear planetary, and we'll have an empty case. Here's our rear planetary. And ring gear. Now that's an empty case. So let's get everything cleaned up and lay everything out on the table. Go from there. Okay, so I got everything cleaned and set down on the table. Let's begin with going over our parts. Obviously we have our case, our pump, our input shaft. Then we start getting into the guts. Our overdrive clutches, forward planetary and its ring gear. And then our center support, our intermediate clutches and direct drum, our forward drum, mid planetary and sun shell. Then we have our rear planetary, we have our output shaft, parking pole, and our extension housing, all still together. And then we have our solenoid body, our filter, and our pan. Hello everyone, welcome back. Up on the bench today we have a NV273 transfer case out of a 2004 Ford F350. Another electronic shift unit. Today we're going to take it apart and see what's inside. We're going to start by removing the output flanges. which is 1.5 inches in the back. Up on the front, 1.125 inches. We're going to get on to pulling this rear bearing support off. 13 mil, and we'll need a little extension for it. You've got some fluid coming out now, and it looks black. Old output seal, and the free housing. Look at the size of the main shaft on that. That's huge. Huge oil pump too. Okay, let's get the case half split to 10 mil all the way around. This transfer case was behind a 5R110 and a 6-liter Powerstroke. Let's try our pry bar method again. There we go. And there's the inside of that. The front output sprocket, shift forks and collar, our main shaft and its sprocket. Let's keep going. Let's work on getting the main shaft out of here. And to do that, we're going to pull our pickup out. And then the oil pump slides off. And we've got a big snap ring back here. A big old snap ring off of there. Out slides our main shaft. Okay, now let's work on this half. This was an electric shift transfer case. We can pull out our collars. There we go. Just now getting the shift motor off. That little top, it's our shift ratchet, and the detent spring for it. And there's our front output shaft and sprocket. And likely behind this is the snap ring for our planetary. So we'll pop this seal out as well. And exactly what I said, we've got our snap ring down inside. So we'll remove that, and that planetary will drop. Huge old planetary gear set. So I think we're just going to leave the ring gear in there. But with that, we've got a completely disassembled 273. So let's get everything cleaned up and set on the bench. Now that everything's cleaned and laid out, let's go over all the parts. We've got our front half of the case, our input planetary, our huge main shaft, our output shaft or front output shaft, the chain, the shift motor, the shift collars and forks, along with the shift ratchet and detent. We've got the oil pickup and pump, the rear bearing support, the rear half of the case, case hardware, and the front and rear output flanges. If you're interested in any of these parts, or need anything to get your daily back on the road or your project underway, check out the Valorous Wrecking eBay store. Links will be up above and in the description. Thank you very much for watching.